Hey guys, today we are going to talk about how to make a stuffed emoji. You'll see a lot of materials here. This is all things you will need. Let's start off. You will need a plastic bag. That's actually what we're going to stuff it with. You'll need a pair of scissors. Make sure you're grabbing the fibers only scissors. That will be what you're cutting your felt with. Black string for most of the facial features. A little bit of red. Some chalk to draw on your felt. Your taco and needle for your sewing, circle for tracing your shape, and then there are two handouts that you can choose from for picking your emoji face and your yellow felt for your emoji. To start off, you're going to need your felt and circle as well as your piece of chalk to trace. You want to line your circle up with the edge of the felt, that way we're getting the most use out of this, and you will need to trace two circles to cut out. Now that those circles are traced, I want to cut them out. Instead of cutting each circle out first, I am actually going to cut around them to get this rectangle cut out of the felt. That will leave a nice edge for the next person that is going to come over to trace, and then I just have this small piece here to cut my circles from. Remember, when cutting circles, you turn what you're cutting, in this case the felt, not the scissors. It'll get you a smoother edge around your circle. The next thing you're going to do is grab one of those handouts that have the emoji faces, and you're going to pick which face you're going to do. You only need one of your circles for this because the face is only going on one side. I'm going to do this winky face. I think he's kind of fun. So I am going to draw in where I need to stitch. The nice thing about using the chalk is if you do mess up, it erases real easy. Okay, and I've got my face drawn in. Now that I'm ready to stitch my face, I have my yarn, needle, taco, and the circle I'm going to be stitching on. I'm going to start off with red because I'm just doing a little bit of red on his mouth. So what I'm going to do first is tie a knot at the end. To tie a knot, remember we wrap around our finger to make that number 6. Pull out the finger, now you have the hole, and then just tug that tail through. Especially with yarn, that'll make a good knot. If you want to be extra careful, you can do it twice. That way you're making sure that your knot's going to go through your fabric. With felt, you shouldn't have that issue, but better safe than sorry. Then I'm ready to thread my needle. So I put the yarn in the taco, close it up, and push it through. Just a reminder, we are not tying this tail to our needle. It hangs loose. Something that does help is just by holding it down at the eye of the needle, it's less likely to move. There are a couple different stitch options you can do. I am going to use a back stitch because that will create a solid line. A running stitch would also work, but it would create that road line where you've got yarn, a blank space, yarn, a blank space. So it's up to you how you would like to do it, but I find my mouth here. I'm going to start not at the top, but a little ways down. Poke my needle through. Pull until I have that knot so you can see that it's knotted in the back. And then, because it's a back stitch, I'm actually going backwards. So now I'm going to the tip, that corner of the mouth. These metal blunt needles work well on this felt. You do need to use a little bit of strength to get them through. But now I've got my first stitch, and I'm going to finish this mouth. Okay, now that I have my mouth finished, you can see the back stitch made that nice straight line. On the back you have a thicker but a similar stitch. Now I need to tie this part off. So what I'm going to do first, on the back, I'm going to push my needle through that last loop, and it'll create this hole right here. I'm going to wrap around. Notice how I went under and pull that tight. That creates my knot so that my stitch won't come out. Then I just trim it off. I don't want to trim right at the knot, but just a little bit of ways, and you're ready to go. I'm ready to stitch the black lines of my emoji face, and so I have a spool of black yarn. You are going to kind of estimate how much you need. I am going to get roughly 2 feet. I'd rather grab more than not enough, but this should get me my 4 lines that I've got there. I'm going to tie that knot. This is a little thinner yarn, so pay attention to the thickness of your yarn. This one definitely is a good idea to double up to make sure that knot doesn't go through. Actually, I might even triple this one because how thin that yarn is. This is going to be a little more similar to when you get to sewing with embroidery floss. Using my taco to thread my needle. And I'm ready to stitch. I am doing a back stitch on this one too, kind of like my mouth. I like that solid line. It's going to be up to you. Could create an interesting effect if you choose to do a running stitch.